Hey friends, it's Lil. Welcome back to my booktube channel. Today I'm going to be talking all about the books that I read in July and in August. Alright, so I apologize for the little bit of a hiatus, but I had a wonderful July, an amazing August, and time just got away from me from doing a July wrap-up video, so I figured why not give you a combined video. I read 8 books in July and then I read 14 books in August. So this is going to be a pretty lengthy wrap-up video. I'm going to do it a little bit different than what I did in June. In June, I read you guys the synopsis on the back of each book. And I'm gonna avoid that this time because this video is just gonna be super long if I do that. So if you are curious about more details for these books, just go ahead and check them out on Goodreads or on Google, Amazon, whatever platform you use most often. I'm going to try to provide as much detail as I can without giving you guys spoilers for any of the books as well. In July, I started off the month with an amazing e-arc. I read Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. This book follows Gwen and Xander. Gwen is a violinist and Xander is a cellist. Gwen has just been promoted to first chair in their symphony choir. Again, it's been a minute. Their orchestra. She's just been promoted to first chair in their orchestra, and Xander is not super happy about it. So it is kind of like a dislike to lovers trope, I would say. This is a very steamy book. I really did enjoy the characters. If you are a musician, I would definitely recommend picking this up. I think if I would have known more about violins and cellos, maybe this book would have even stuck with me even more. Nonetheless, I did give it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I put it on my wish list, and one of my friends was so sweet enough to give it to me for my birthday, and I'm so excited to have it on my shelf because I will definitely reread this in the future. And just another hit by Julie Soto. I loved Forget Me Not, and this follows characters. It's like an interconnected standalone series situation. You see cameos from characters from Forget Me Not in it, but I did love this book and I would highly recommend you pick it up if you haven't already. Next, I read A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. I have really enjoyed her work in the past. I gave The Dead Romantics 4 stars and The 7 Years Slip by her, I gave that 5 stars. Loved that book so much. This one was not my cup of tea. It follows Elsie and Anders. Elsie is in a book club. Her book girls go on a little retreat every year. That year they're not able to make it. She is driving there. She has some car troubles. And what do you know it? She ends up in the small town that her favorite series is based off of. So all the characters there are fictional. She needs to figure out how to get out of the town. She meets Anders. One thing leads to another. There are some great twists and turns in this little romance book that I really did enjoy. I just really didn't connect too much to the characters. I thought the pacing was a little off for me too, but again, she did a really great job with the magical realism aspect of it. So if you are a big fan of that, definitely recommend you pick it up. I ultimately ended up giving it 3.5 stars, so still a solid read, just not one of my favorites from July. Next, I had another 5-star read. I read Business Casual by B.K. Borison, the last book in the Lovelight Farm series, and I just adored this one. I loved the little snippets of Nova and Charlie that we got in the previous books, and I was so happy for them to get their own story, and I just thought their relationship was so cute. If you have listened to Sabrina Carpenter's new album, Short and Sweet, the song Juno on that album really reminds me of Nova and Charlie. So maybe listen to that while you read this book, but really love this book. I'm so sad to be leaving Lovelight Farms behind, but this will definitely be a comfort series for me, and I look forward to when I finally reread it again in the future. For my 4th book in July, I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I did this one on audio. This was recommended to me by my friend Katie here on BookTube and Bookstagram at I Would Rather Be Reading. I am so happy I finally got around to this series. I've been wanting to listen to the book so that I can watch the show, which I haven't started yet, but I'm very looking forward to finally diving into that. And I did enjoy the audio. I gave it 4 stars. Was it the best piece of literature and YA mystery thriller I've ever read? No, but it was still super solid. I loved how the audiobook was done. It was very easy to listen to. I think I got through it in the span of a couple days, and I just really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to keep continuing into the series. I did read the second book in August, so I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I'm excited to finish out the series and finally watch the show that just came out. Next, I read The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. I gave this one 4.5 stars, but honestly, it really should be 5 because I still think about this book. The beginning was just a little bit slow for me, and it's second chance romance, which I harp on all the time on this channel. I am obsessed with. So of course I loved this one. This follows Georgia and Eli, and of course in the past they were in a relationship. They are forced to come together for one of their best friends' weddings. They need to get along, they need to do things together to make sure the wedding goes smoothly because the groom is convinced that their wedding is haunted. Basically everything is going wrong. So they're trying to keep him calm. They're trying to do everything that they can to make sure that the wedding goes as smooth as possible. And while they're doing that, that love rekindles and they come back together. And it was just so sweet. I loved Eli. He's probably one of my new favorite male main characters. And the story, loved the backdrop of it, set on a winery. It was just giving perfect summer vibes. And I just really enjoyed this book. And it's probably one of my favorites of the summer, so I think I need to change my rating to 5 stars instead of 4.5. Next in July, I read When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This is a fantasy book. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I started reading this a little bit before my book retreat, and then I finished it on the flight there in my travels to Michigan. But it was a very good fantasy book. I have talked to my friends about it that have read the book, and I think it's definitely, you can definitely tell it's book 1 of a fantasy series because she's doing a lot of world building. You're meeting new characters, you're figuring out how things work. The one qualm I did have with this book is that it has a glossary at the back, and I'm just not the biggest fan of reading a fantasy book, learning something, but then having to refer to the glossary to learn more about the world. I'd rather it just be built into the storyline. So that was my one issue. I think a glossary is really helpful to refer to later on, but I don't want to keep having to refer to it multiple times throughout the book. But it's definitely really set up the author very well for book 2. I loved the ending. I cannot wait to get my hands on the second book. I think this will probably be a fantasy series that becomes pretty popular on Bookstagram and BookTube, so I would definitely recommend getting to it now before the hype really goes up. And there are some beautiful special edition copies of this book available online too if you are into that type of thing. Next I read Came the Closest by Cleopatra Margot. This book is another beautiful second chance romance. It is on a lake setting. It follows Cheyenne and Colton, and this book was just so beautiful. It was so beautifully written. I loved the characters. It's definitely giving a lot of found family, as are the 2 previous books in this series as well. And Colton is a single dad, so he's just so sweet with his little boy, and I loved his relationship with Cheyenne. I think it blossomed so well throughout the book. Cleopatra is a really great friend on Bookstagram, and I had the pleasure of beta reading this book for her a month or so ago. Time is going by so fast this summer, so I can't keep everything straight, but I got the honor of beta reading it and then reading the finished copy, and it just turned out so wonderfully, and I'm so excited for her author journey and to keep supporting her as she continues to write. And there is one more book left in this 4-book series that I am just dying to get my hands on and cannot wait for her. I did give it 5 stars if you can't tell. I absolutely loved it. And then my last read of July was Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. This is another single dad book. I didn't love this one, unfortunately. I gave it 3 stars, so it wasn't like a flop for me. I still enjoyed some aspects of the book. I just, again, if I can't connect to characters in the book, it's just already not off to a great start for me, and I had that same issue with this one. It follows Ellie and Raphael. Ellie is the nanny for Raphael's son, and There were just some things in the book that I didn't really like. I had a really hard time staying engaged and actually wanting to read this book. Part of that might have been that I was trying to read it while I was on a book retreat with some of my best friends from Bookstagram, so that might be on me for the setting and the headspace that I was in at the time. So maybe I'll go back and reread it one day, but 3 stars is still a pretty solid ranking for a book, and I definitely recommend if you liked Love Redesigned, you'll probably enjoy this one too. And those were the 8 books that I read in July, so let's do a little bit of a wrap up for that month. So I read 0 physical books. 0. These were all basically gifted to me for my birthday and for gift exchanges, which is so fun. But yeah, no physical books. I read 7 ebooks and listened to 1 audiobook. My favorite book was Business Casual by B.K. Borison, and my least favorite was Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. I read 1 library book, so I saved only $21.66. I read 2 e-arcs. I read 3,559 pages, and then my average star rating was 4.25, which, if I'm thinking correctly, is my highest average star rating for a month this year, which is just great. I had a lot of great 5-star reads and 4 stars and 4.5. So those are all the books that I read in July, so we're gonna go ahead and hop right on into August reads. Now, August, again, was just such a great month. I finished up the second half of my book retreat with my girls in Michigan, and then it was my birthday month, and just so many things going on. The Sabrina Carpenter Short and Sweet album release, one of my friends' birthdays as well too, so it was just a wonderful month. August is always so special to me because there's just so much going on and I feel so much love. So thank you to everyone who wished me happy birthday, who gifted me books. You guys really didn't need to do that. I appreciate just getting to hang out with you and talk with you about books throughout the year. Bookstagram is truly one of my favorite places on the internet, and I could not imagine my life without it, and everything that it's done for me and all the friendships that it's brought me as well. So sending everyone a big virtual hug and lots of love. Really appreciate you all so much. Before I keep getting too sappy, let's just go ahead and hop on into my August reads. So I started off the month with Speechless by Lindsay Lanza. This one followed Lucy and Henry. I have to say I can't remember too much about this book. Again, the low rating for this book is probably more so related to me being on the book retreat, not really being in the best headspace for it. I only gave it 2.5 stars, which hurts my heart, but I just couldn't connect to the characters. I thought the progression of the relationship was a little weird. Lucy wasn't really spending a lot of time with Henry. And sometimes music aspects of books, if there's like a song involved, I want to be able to hear the song, and not hearing the song while I'm reading it just is hard for me. That's not really the biggest reason of why I rated it so low. I just really had a hard time connecting to the characters, feeling invested and wanting to read the book. It started off really strong for me, and I was telling one of my friends who's a really big fan of this book that I was loving it at the beginning, which I truly was. And then I just got I just became uninvested in it, and I don't know what it is. I think maybe on another day when I'm in a different headspace and I'm not hanging out with my friends and I can just really devote all my energy and time to reading this book, I will retry to read it. But it just wasn't for me. I really wanted to love it because I love Lindsay Lanza. I loved her most 2 recent releases a lot. I gave them both 5 stars. This one just unfortunately didn't work out for me. Next, I listened to Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, which is the second book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. Really enjoyed this audio. Again, gave it 4 stars, so pretty similar to what I gave to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Like the plot line, I like how they tied in some of the stuff from the first book into this book, but it was also exploring a different crime that had happened. But I think Holly Jackson did a really great job again with developing the story. Also, the audiobook again was fantastic. I think those audiobooks are just done extremely well. So if you're going to read this series, I would recommend to listen to them on audio. Next up, I did a reread of People I Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. When I initially read this book back in 2022, beginning of 2022, I gave it 3 stars. But on my reread, I bumped it up to 4 stars. I was reading it while simultaneously listening to the audiobook so that I was able to kind of focus on tabbing my favorite parts. And I just fell in love with Alex and Poppy more in this book. I felt more invested in their love story, the flashbacks of their past travels, their current timeline. Extremely well done. Emily Henry just has a way with words and really very lyrical writing, very descriptive. It makes you feel like you are in the book with the characters, feeling all of their same emotions. So enjoyed this one. It's still my least favorite of her books, but I'm glad that I could give this one a little bit of a redemption and up the star rating for it. And perfect reread during the summertime as well. Then I did another reread of Our Final Love Song by N.S. Perkins. This one, again, also tabbing. I'm rereading all Emily Henry books and N.S. Perkins books with my friend Melissa, and I, again, fell in love with this one even more. This one follows Jamie and Emma. At the beginning of the book, their relationship is kind of in crisis. They're thinking about not staying together anymore. They're going to a musician's retreat. When they get there, they've been sent back in time. So throughout the book, they're trying to figure out how to get back to their present timeline, have to spend more time together. What do you know? Their feelings are rekindling. They're appreciating each other. They're understanding kind of what was happening in their relationship prior, how they need to communicate better with each other, of how they're feeling, what they're wanting. And it's just a beautifully written story. This is N.S. Perkins' only book with magical realism in it so far, and I think she did a really great job executing it, and it's just super unique, super fun. I'm also glad I got to do my reread of this during the summertime because it's just the perfect vibes. So this was 5 stars initially, and it stayed 5 stars too. Then I read an advanced copy of The Cost of Forgetting You by Hannah Bird. This one is big. This is her longest book yet, and I absolutely loved it. Guess the trope. Guess the main trope. If you guessed second chance romance, you were right. This follows Delilah and Truett. It also follows Delilah's dad and his love when they were Lila's dad, Henry, and his love, Lucy, in their past timeline. So it is dual POV, but it's a different twist on dual POV because you have Delilah's POV, but then you also have Henry's POV from his past. And it's just a beautifully written book. It is super emotional, but I absolutely loved it. Hannah Bird's writing is just something that I could go on and on and on about, and I think I can say it with my full chest. Her writing has gotten better every single book that she has done too, so it just makes me even more excited for the future work that she will put out. This is definitely one of my favorites for the year. I haven't decided yet if I love this one more than Promise Me This, which she pubbed at the very beginning of the year, or if I love it the same, or if Promise Me This is still my favorite by her, to be determined. But they're just such good pieces of work, and I absolutely love her books, and I will shove her down your throat if you haven't read her yet. But definitely go check her out. You can find all of her books on Kindle Unlimited, and she is just so sweet to talk to. And again, with N.S. Perkins and Cleopatra Margot, Hannah Bird is someone that I found pretty early on in her author journey, and I'm just so excited to keep continuing to support her for years to come. And if you can't tell by all the beautiful words I just said about this book, I did give it 5 stars. Then I read another advanced copy. I read Where Happiness Begins by N.S. Perkins. I had the honor of getting to beta read this book for her as well. I read it a couple months ago, and then I got to reread it again. It follows Lillian and Carter. Lillian's nickname is Lil, which is my heart. You don't really find characters in books with the name Lillian or Lil, and this was just such a fun book. It, again, is very emotional. It is dual POV, but the dual POV is different as well. The main POV is from Lily-Ann's perspective, and Carter's POV is stuff from the past that kind of leads up to what is occurring to them in the present moment. It is a marriage of convenience book, and Carter is in a band. Lily-Ann is a social media influencer. Lily-Ann is a content creator, and she's creating content for Carter's band. Forced proximity trope. There's just so much to love about this book, and again, we'll shove it down your throat until the day I die. It is the third book in the Evermore series by Ennis Perkins, so definitely recommend reading them in order, just so you can kind of see the Easter eggs and cameos from other characters throughout the book as well. But another big, beautiful 5 stars for me for this book. Then I read Reckless by Lauren Roberts, which is the second book in the Powerless series following Peyton and Kai. I can't talk much about this book because it hasn't been pubbed for that long, and I know a lot of people haven't read it yet. But what I will say is that if you really did enjoy Powerless, I'm sure you'll enjoy this one too. A lot of fun stuff going on in this book, a lot of antics that they get up to, and it's just a really well executed fantasy book. Very similar vibes to Hunger Games, which I'm sure you probably heard a lot of people referring to when talking about Powerless as well. The ending of this book has me super excited for the last book in the series, Fearless. Yeah, the last book in the series, Fearless, which I just cannot wait to get my hands on. So I hope you guys enjoy this one, and you should totally let me know if you've read it, what your thoughts are. If you want to message me separately on Bookstagram, please do so. I'd love to talk about it with you. But yeah, this book was great, and I just can't wait to read the last book in the series. So 4 stars for me. My next 4 books that I read are the Windy City series, because I picked up the first one on Kindle Unlimited, and then I literally couldn't stop myself and just had to keep reading all of them. So this is kind of going to be a quick speed through run of those. So the first book was Mile High, and these are all by Liz Tomford. Mile High is following Xander and Stevie. Xander is on the hockey team. Stevie is a flight attendant for Xander's hockey team when they're traveling. It was a great book. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the romance, the relationship, all the side plots, all of that, but it was so long. It was far too long for me. It could have easily been shorter. So that's the only reason why I gave it 3 stars, because I was really struggling to just push myself to get through the book. And I've been told by multiple people that the series just gets better and better as you keep going on. So I had to push through for all my girls. But this book was great, a great start to the Windy City series. And as true to everyone else, what they've been telling you, it does just get better and better and better. So 3 stars for Mile High. Then I read The Right Move, which follows Ryan and Indy. Ryan is a basketball player. He is Stevie's brother from book 1, and Indy is Stevie's friend from book 1, and she's just recently gotten out of a relationship that she thought was going to be long-term. She moves in with Ryan because she needs a place to stay, and so forced proximity, doing things together, just kind of leads to their relationship developing. I absolutely adored Ryan. He is by far my favorite male main character in the series, and I just had a really great time with this one, so I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. Then I read Caught Up, which follows Miller and Kai. Kai is a baseball player. Miller is the daughter of the baseball team's manager, and she is coming home from the summer. She usually works as a chef, but she needs a creative break from that. She comes home for the summer to help her dad out with a nannying position that he needs filled for Kai's son while they are on the road and Kai is playing at the baseball games. He needs someone to watch his child. So Miller takes over that role. So it's a single dad nanny trope. So for those of you who love that, you'll likely love this book. Again, I thought it was really well done. The characters had great personal growth throughout the book as well, so I ended up giving it 4 stars. Then I read Play Along, which follows Isaiah and Kennedy. Isaiah is Kai's brother from book 3, and Kennedy is one of the physical therapists employed for the baseball team to kind of help with treatment. And Kennedy is very well underpaid. She's not at the position she needs to be at. She's actually qualified to be the lead medical doctor for the baseball team. Isaiah and Kennedy get along really well. They go on a trip to Vegas, they get super drunk, and they get married. And then they wake up the next day and they're like, oh, we're married, which Isaiah is very happy about this because he's been obsessed with Kennedy. And ever since he found out that Kennedy got out of her really long relationship and engagement to another man, he has been wanting to pursue her, and he's been trying to show her that this is who he is. He wants to be there for her. So this is the perfect opportunity for him to do so. Again, just these characters were so well developed, so well built. Loved how their relationship progressed. Loved how they pushed each other in the personal growth as well, and kind of helped each other talk through what they needed to talk through. And the relationship developed extremely well. And I could say a lot of great things about this series, but each character and each relationship is just so different, but they're all extremely well done. And there's another book, I think one last book in the Windy City series that is coming out soon-ish that I'm also very excited for. But Play Along, I ended up giving 4 stars. And don't get me wrong, I loved Isaiah so much, but Ryan Shea is absolutely my favorite book boyfriend from this series. Then I listened to That's Not My Name by Megan Lawley. This was an audiobook recommendation from my friend Melissa, and I was blown away by it. It is this author's debut book. It's definitely giving very similar vibes to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I would recommend the audiobook if you're planning to read this book. But it's extremely well done. I did not guess all the twists and turns, and the ending really caught me by surprise, but I really did enjoy it. It is a quick book to listen to as well. I think I got through it in a day, if not 2 days. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Solid 4 stars for me, and we'll definitely be reading future books by this author. All right, we are coming down to the end of it, which is good because my voice is strained. My second to last book of August was Savor It by Tara DeWitt. This book followed Sage and Fisher. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I did only give it 2.5 stars. Couldn't connect to the characters. I thought the pacing was a little off. It also didn't really feel like much was happening throughout the book. So again, with books that I rate low, I just you never really know what circumstances are leading you to not like that book. I've never read anything by Tara DeWitt. I will read other books by her because I don't want to just have this be like a one-off and I didn't love it, so I'm not going to pick up any of her future work. I definitely will. This one just unfortunately didn't work out for me, but I've been seeing so many good reviews for it, so still recommend you try it out if you want to. Just not my favorite, and a little bit of a bummer because I really did want to love it. And then my last read of August, I'm laughing because this book has essentially become my entire personality. It's fine. I'm sorry for those of you who don't like this book. Whatever. Not everyone's gonna like the same book, which I totally get. But I Will Die on This Hill. Happy Place by Emily Henry. I had the time of my life rereading this book. I read the physical copy and listened to the audiobook by Julia Whalen, and it was the best time. I flew through it. The first time I read it so slow because I wanted to savor every bit and piece of this book. And then this time I read it, I think, in like an entire day because I just love these characters so much. I love Harriet's friendship with her friends. I love Harriet and Wynn's relationship and how they rekindle it throughout the book. I love the Maine setting. I am in desperate need of a trip to Maine. Shout out to my book girlies because we need to plan a trip to Maine ASAP for our retreat. This will forever be one of my favorite books of all time, and I tabbed so much of this book. So many beautiful quotes and scenes in this book that will live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life. But yeah, I'm so happy I got to reread it. I only have one more reread of Emily Henry left, which is Beach Read, one of my other absolute favorites by her. But of course, 5 stars the first time I read it. This time, infinite stars. I don't think I'll ever not love this book. She's just so good. Okay, and now I can take a break and a breath because I'm out of breath from all that ranting and talking. I apologize for how long this video is going to be. I tried to talk quickly, but I fear as though that didn't happen. We'll do a quick little wrap up. We'll talk briefly about books I want to read in September, and then we will get out of here. My stats for August: I read 3 physical books, 9 ebooks, and 5 audiobooks. And you're probably like, Lillian, that doesn't add up to 14 books for August. That is because I did a lot of immersion reading with a physical or ebook and the audiobook at the same time. So I counted them twice. Sue me if you don't want me to do that. Sorry, I'm gonna keep doing it. My favorite book was Where Happiness Begins by Ennis Perkins, but The Cost of Forgetting You by Hannah Bird was a close second. It was so hard for me to pick just one book because they're both so good. And my least favorite book was Savor It by Tara DeWitt. I read 6 library books, or loaned out 6 library books, and I saved a total of $113.42. I read 2 ARCs. My number of pages read was 5,581, and then my average star rating was 4.04. So we love having 2 months in a row where I have above a 4-star average rating. And those are all my statistics from August. So we'll briefly talk about some books that I am desperately wanting to get to in September. I just finished an arc of Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling, and I cannot wait to talk about that with you all in my September reading wrap-up. Next up, I am starting Daydream by Hannah Grace, which, woohoo! I am so excited to finally read Henry's book. I've been dying, I can't wait. And then I'll also be picking up soon-ish Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver, which has just pubbed. I'm so excited to read it. And then, off the top of my head, I'm trying to do a lot of mood reading in September, but one of the other books that I really want to try to get to this month, if I can, is As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson, which is the last book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. Thank you all for sticking with me throughout this video. I apologize for it being so long. I'll try not to take too big of a hiatus from BookTube again and get these reading wrap-ups done at the end of each month, but I hope you guys had an amazing summer. I know I did. It's probably one of the best summers I've ever had in my entire life, and I got to spend it with some of my best friends and my boyfriend and my family, and it was just a summer filled with so much love, and I hope you guys also had that same type of feeling. Then you had so many adventures this summer and memories that you'll hang on to for a while to come. But we're now getting into the Burr months, which I'm very excited for. September and October, I'm hoping to take it a little bit slower with things that I'm doing, really get some quality time in, romanticize my life a little bit more, and really set that cozy fall vibe. I can't wait. I might do a little once we get closer to the official start of fall, because I'm hanging on to summer until I can't anymore. Maybe do a little fall wish list, to-do list, because there's just so many things that I want to do in September, October, and November. I want to really try to savor every season of life that I'm stepping into, and there's so many things on my bucket list for fall that I want to share with you all in case you want to do them as well. But maybe that'll be an upcoming video. We'll see. If not, I'll at least post it on Instagram and share it with you all there. But again, hope you had the best summer. Wishing you all a very happy and cozy September. Hope you get lots of fun, good 5-star reads in. But for now, I will see you in my next video. Bye!